So I have so much to talk about. So, like I said in the last video, I thought I went into preterm labor at 23 weeks. It was the scariest thing to date through this pregnancy that I've gone through. So it was literally, I could be wrong in the days, but I think it was Wednesday night that I didn't feel myself. I didn't feel like myself. And I really wasn't feeling well. So I ended up going to bed early. Now, mind you guys, I go to bed early now. Like, being pregnant, I'm in bed in La La Land at like 7 o'clock. But this particular night, I was in bed like 5:30. Like, I just wasn't feeling like myself. And then around 11 o'clock, I woke up to go to the bathroom. And I was just really crampy. And I was just like, again, still didn't feel like myself. I didn't know what was going on. And I am going back to bed, just brushing it off that it's just normal pregnancy. It's, whatever. Maybe I'm coming down with something. And I went back to bed. Come 4 a.m. in the morning, I got woken up by some severe pain in the bottom of my tummy. It was worse than menstrual cramps. To be honest, if anybody's ever had a miscarriage, it was kind of like the starting of a miscarriage, like the cramping from the starting of a miscarriage. You know how it just like gradually gets worse and then your back is affected. Anyways, that's how my miscarriages were for me. But that was pretty much what I was experiencing. And I was so scared. Like, I was just like, okay, let's, I'm 23 weeks, like this can't be happening right now. And if this is happening, then I have to deliver him. Like, this is stuff that like is going in my head. I'm like very emotional. Josh is sleeping. Johanna's sleeping. The whole house is asleep. And I was just trying to be quiet and just trying to work through them. And then it came time to being 5:30 and the alarm started going off and everybody's waking up and I'm still trying to work through them. At this point, my back was on fire. I couldn't get comfortable. And then I just felt absolutely miserable. Johanna went off to school. Josh went off to work. And Josh knew something wasn't right with me. He's like, "You okay?" I'm like, "No, I'm not feeling well." Like, I didn't tell him the specifics on what was going on because I didn't want Johanna to worry about me. But I was just like, I went to the bathroom. I wasn't bleeding, nothing like that. I didn't have any kind of extra discharge that I should have been worried about. Like, nothing like that. It was just purely the intense cramping and hardness of my stomach. It was intense. And at first they were like consistent. Like, in the morning as I'm getting everybody ready and out the door, like they were very consistent. So at that point, I decided to start timing them. So I got out my contraction timer, and they were coming like every minute and a half, lasting for like anywhere from like 28 seconds to like 51 seconds. So, and they were coming like every, I want to say, a minute to 2 minutes, and it was scary. So my office, doctor's office, my OB didn't open until 9 a.m. So I'm trying to just wait it out because I didn't want to call the on-call. My mom was like, "Oh, well, maybe it's just Braxton Hicks. It's very common. You can start feeling Braxton Hicks in your second trimester. It's just probably nothing, especially since you're not bleeding or anything like that." I was like, okay. So I went and I came upstairs and I laid down, and that just made things worse. So I was like, all right, I need to take a shower. Let me get in a nice warm shower. Maybe that would help. So at that point, I did take a shower, and I went and took a nice hot shower. I was in there for quite some time because it did feel really good, especially on my back. And then everything just kind of like slowed down. So I probably was in there for like a half hour or so, and then I finally got out. I came upstairs, and I got, put on clothes, and then I laid down. And at that point, then they started coming like every 25 to 30 minutes. Then they slowly increased to like 8 minutes. The longest one, I think, lasted for like a minute, a little over a minute. And so at that point, they were like all over the map. If I still have the contraction thing in there, I will actually take a screenshot and insert it in here for you guys to actually see. And it was scary. It was crazy. So at 9 o'clock, I tried to get to the doctor. I couldn't get to the doctor. So I'm just like, okay, just relax. Let me eat something. So I made me something. And then around 9:30, I called and I spoke to one of the ladies there, and I was explaining to her everything that was going on. So she put me on hold and went and talked right to the doctor and was explaining everything to him. And she came back and told me that he wants me to go straight to labor and delivery for evaluation. When that was said to me, like, I was just like, oh my God, this can't be happening right now. Like, this can't be happening. Whew. It was very emotional. Like, I cried the whole way there. Like, my mom couldn't be there for me because she had a very important appointment with my dad because my dad had cancer, and this was his checkup. I think it was like his 6 months checkup after he was in remission. So that was so important that I couldn't take her from that. And Josh was at work and he couldn't get out of work. So I'm like literally by myself in labor and delivery, freaking out. So they set me up on the monitors, the contraction monitor, the heartbeat monitor. The only thing is, because I'm a heavier set woman and I was only 23 weeks, they couldn't pick him up very well. You can hear him moving inside. And so that was encouraging, and we were able to pick up his heartbeat a couple times. If I pressed hard enough down on it, the one that she had set up for his heart, it came in clear. The contraction one, I think she kind of had too high up. But then she said to me, the contractions might not be strong enough, even though they feel strong to me, they might not be strong enough to pick up onto the monitor. Because there was nothing being picked up on the monitor. Like, I'll insert that because I know I have a photo of that. Like, nothing was being picked up. It was kind of like all over the place. It was like 1 minute you hear his heart rate, the next minute you want it, then you just hear him moving around. So I was hooked up, and let me tell you guys, so I switched my hospitals and my doctor, and it was absolutely the right decision. After my experience, I feel so comfortable now going into this birth, knowing that I'm going to be well taken care of as long as I get the right nurses. Because there was one nurse that really made me mad because she gave me my band, because they brought me right into the back into labor and delivery once I went into the ER. And they had me already set up in a room. And I was collecting urine because they wanted to test my urine. So I was collecting that for them when I was there before anything got set up. And another nurse comes in with my hospital band, and she goes, "Oh, is this you?" And I was like, no, because my name is spelled wrong. And she goes, "Well, it has to be you because it has everything else is the same." Okay, but my name is spelled wrong. And she still put it on me. Even though I'm telling her my name is spelled wrong. But because that's what she had in the system with my date of birth. Anyways. So the other nurse, the nurse that I had, which was such a sweetheart, she actually made me feel really comfortable, and I was scared. Like, I was alone and I was scared. I didn't know what to think. My contractions again were like all over the place. Like, I wouldn't have one for like every 8 minutes or whatever, because what she was doing is she was marking it manually on the strip when I would tell her I was having a contraction. And mostly it was in my back. Like, most of the pain was in my back. So then when she's going through all my history, and I'm telling her everything that I've been through, because it wasn't in the file, it wasn't in my records. And she was like, "When did you transfer over?" I said, "Like, when I was 12 weeks. She goes, "Really? We don't even have you in here for one appointment." I said, "Well, maybe because it's not me." This is not me. That's what I kept on saying to her. She goes, "Let me check it." So she went in there. I gave her my correct address, my date of birth, and the right spelling of my name. She goes, "Oh, you're right here. Oh, and here's everything else that I just asked you is right here in the file." I said, "Yep." She goes, I knew I should have just done it myself, she says, and she walked out. Then the other nurse comes in, takes off my bracelet, the one that originally did it, and puts on the new one. I said, yep, that's me. So pretty much I wasted like a half hour of my time because going over all my medical history with her that she was trying to put manually in because none of it was in there, even though technically it was. So just no one, that one particular nurse did not listen to me when I first came in. So that, yeah, so that happened. And it was something as simple as missing an L in my first name. But that makes a big difference. That is not me. Like, clearly it's not me. And I'm telling you it's not me. Anyways, I'm not going to rant about that because the lady pissed me off. So anyways, then the doctor came in and she was explaining to me, everything. They're going to do some tests. But because according to my file, my placenta was covering my cervix, but they didn't know how much of they didn't know if it was a full previa or if it was like just a portion of it. And I couldn't remember at that time because my mind was going all over the place and she's throwing all these names at me and thoughts at me. And I'm just like, I don't know. I don't know. Everything should be in my file. I just don't know. So then they had to call over to PDC, which is a place that I go to for all the diagnostic, like for the scans and stuff, the high-tech scans for him. And they finally got the report. And at that point, the actual chief of staff came and seen me, which was, whew. I was like, oh shit. She goes, I just want to show you something. She goes, we just got your file back from PDC. And she says, you do not have previa. She goes, you have a piece of your placenta covering your cervix. She goes, it is not a complete previa. She goes, and that generally will move as you get bigger, as the baby grows. It will move out of the way. She goes, because they couldn't do an exam on me if I had a previa, because I guess it could cause a lot of issues or, whatever the case is. So that they had to be really careful on what they could do. So she goes, so with this, with this being said, and she even highlighted the report from that scan that they told me I had previa. And so she said, I'm going to have the doctor come in and we're going to do an exam on you to see what's going on with your cervix, if they're dilated, all those things. And I said, that's absolutely fine. She goes, and I'm ordering you lunch. She goes, you've been here for a while. I'm going to order you lunch. What do you like? And I was like, I'm okay. I don't want lunch. She goes, no, you're going to be here for another couple of hours. She goes, because you still have to do all the testing. And she goes, and the one test that we have to do, she goes, takes like an hour to come back. So you're going to be here for a while. I was like, I don't care. Okay, that's fine. Get me lunch, whatever. So lunchtime I'm coming. It was like a grilled cheese and chicken soup, which was really, it wasn't bad. Which was really nice too, to have something to eat. Because the other hospital wouldn't give a crap how long you were in there for, and they would not feed you. Let me just say that. So anyways, so the doctor ended up coming in and she did an exam. However, she couldn't get high enough to see my cervix. And I was in a lot of pain when she went in. Very painful and uncomfortable as soon as she went in with the scalpula thingy. But this is everything they tested me for. So, tested me for gonorrhea, chlamydia, things like that. Tested me for drugs. Yep, drugs. Tested me for something that I've never heard of. But she says this test, which is a test that they were waiting on, this test was to determine if I was going into a full labor within 7 days. This test can tell them if I am going to be in active labor within the next 7 days. So that is a test they wanted to see if I was actually in full active labor. Because there was no doubt about it that I was having contractions, according to the doctor. She goes, there's no doubt about it. We just got to figure out why. And then they did a bacteria swab as well to see if I had any bacteria back there. She was a little nervous because she said that it looks like I have some cervical change discharge. She said she couldn't feel my cervix to see if I'm dilated. She goes, if she was to guess, I'm probably like a 0.5 centimeter dilated, just very, very little. But she knows that there's a cervical change only because of the kind of discharge that I had that she's seen inside. So ultimately, they all went up to tests. She says if that particular test comes back and it says it's positive for me being in active labor, then she wants to do a check at that point. But she didn't want to put me through that at that point because I was already uncomfortable. So we just kind of chilled out and waited. So I had my lunch. I just relaxed. I just tried to like get everything out of my mind. And then they come back. So thankfully, my test came back negative that I was not or will not be going into labor in the next 7 days, which was a relief. And she said that I actually have something called BV, bacteria vaginosis, if I said that right. So ultimately, I had a bacteria growing in my vagina that I had no idea about, no symptoms, no smell, no nothing like that. And it was causing my contractions. My uterus did not like it. It was causing issues. And then it came to my mind when I was talking to one of my friends that could this potentially be the infection, the uterine infection that I had before I got pregnant, that it wasn't quite cleared up before I had the transfer. It was cleared up, but just there was like that little bit that was still in there. Could that be what they're detecting? So anyways, is what it is. Never really thought about it that way. But she gave me 2 choices for medicine. She said that the first one is either the vaginal insert cream or an antibiotic. And I said to her, which one is better for the baby? So she said, they both are the same. She goes, the difference is the antibiotic has to go through your whole body to work, to get to the part where it is. The cream goes right to the source. She says, so ultimately it's your decision which one you want. They both work the same. They both have the same effects. Just one doesn't go through your whole body. So I was like, okay. So I decided to go with the cream. It's only a 5-day cream, and antibiotics does some really crazy shit to my system. So I would prefer not to be on an antibiotic, and I didn't want him to have to go through his blood. And so I just said, okay, I'll do the cream. And it was a 5-day cream, and I did it all 5 days. And hopefully it's gone. Like, I don't even know it's gone because I didn't even have symptoms. My contractions that ended up going away maybe about 24 hours after I did my first cream. They were slow. They were like all over the place still, even when I got home. I tried to stay hydrated and just relax. And then shortly, like 24 hours, like the next day, I was feeling better after I started the medicine. So obviously I was contracting due to a bacteria infection, which is crazy. And currently, according to her, I'm a 0.5 centimeter dilated. 23 weeks, but I do know that you can be dilated throughout your whole pregnancy, and as long as everything's good, you're good. And I know this is around the time that your body starts making those changes anyways, because I'm right almost there at the, at my 3rd trimester. I'm like right at the cusp. Like I'm just like going over the hump right now, pretty much. So anyway, so that was my experience. I thought I was going into preterm labor. I was super scared. Come to find out it was just a bacteria infection. So now I feel fine. And that was like just the scariest thing ever. So with that being said, I have decided to pack myself a hospital bag just in case I ended up having him early, because that was some crazy shit. So I started packing my hospital bag. And I'll probably do a video on it, but not anytime soon. Probably as it gets closer. Or maybe I'll do one of what I have right now. For that way, if I do go into labor at any point from now till April, you'll see, and then I'll probably just add to it, But anyways, all right, you guys, that was that. So until next time, you guys have a great day.